All right, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing well. So today's video is the continuation on the last video where we built out this very interesting menu system that comes from the bottom of the application. So let me go ahead and show you what exactly I'm talking about. All right, let's go into the simulator here, and I'm going to tab into my application here. And this menu is what we are looking to build. And in the last video, so you see here, click on that, gives me this little alert there. Click on that and gives me that alert. I also dismiss this by clicking there. So I'm going to tab back into our application that we have so far. Clicking on that, we get this little menu that comes up, but it's kind of empty, and we want to continue on by filling out the entire view with the icon and a label next to it. All right, so if you are coming onto this video without having watched the last one, please click down below in the description. You'll find a link to kind of go over what we've been building out so far. So make sure to get caught up. And here we go. All right, first we want to open up this settings launcher file. And the way this works is when I click on click on this navigation bar in the top right, shows settings gets executed, and then we add this entire view, this entire black view and this collection view down on the bottom via these two add sub views right here. And collection view needs to be filled out. So how do we fill out a collection view? Well, you guys are probably familiar with it already, so I'm going to go over this rather quickly because there's a lot to go over in today's video. Okay, so collection view is a variable that we have up here, and I need to set its data source and delegate. So collection view, data source, I'm just get some extra space down here, and data source will be self. Collection view, delegate will also be self, like that. And then here's the problem, right? We get these two errors right here. We fix that by doing this. So the data source needs to conform to a collection view data source right here. It also needs to conform to this collection view delegate. And while we're at it, let's just conform to delegate flow layout to specify some of the sizes for the cells. So now that we have that, the error has gone away, but we have a second error here. And if you click on that, it tells you to implement these two methods. So the first of which is number of items for section right here. Let's just return a arbitrary value of 3 for now. And the second method we need to implement is cell for item at index path, right? So in here, we can just say let cell equals something, and we need to return this cell back. So what is this cell? Well, the cell is a dequeued cell from collection view. So dequeue with this index path that we get from the function call right here. And cell ID is cell ID right here. And what is cell ID? Well, I'm going to create it right here, right below collection view. Let cell ID equals this string cell ID. So pretty good and pretty straightforward. Now running this application will most likely crash. So I'm going to run it, and when I click on this, it'll crash, and the warning tells me to register a cell for that cell ID. So let's go back to this settings launcher, and I'm going to go ahead and register a cell. So I'm going through this rather quickly because I've done this before in previous videos. So make sure to click down on the YouTube playlist to see what is going on here. So register class, I need to register an actual cell class for this cell ID, right? And what is this cell class? Well, this cell class, you can actually register something called UI collection view cell like this. So .self is what you need to do. And this works fine, but we need to actually register custom cells that we can put image icons and that label, that setting label into. So let's go ahead and go to view group, new file, and go ahead and create this setting cell like this. And let's just import UI kit right here. And then now we can do a couple of things. We can first create this custom class called setting cell, just like that. And what is this super class? Well, I'm going to subclass it as a base class or a base cell like this. I'm just command click into here. And this base cell is a custom class that we've created where we can just override setup views, and then we are good to go with setting up our views. In other words, we can do setup views, overrides it, and call super setup views just for completeness. And then here we can actually set up some views. So before I do that, I just want to make sure this works by setting background color equals this blue color. And let's see, let's go back to settings launcher. And here I will register this setting cell. Okay, I'm going to hit run. And when I hit that more button, we'll see blue icons or blue cells showing up in our collection view. So that's pretty good. That's very close to what we want to achieve. And the next thing is to expand this cell fully along the horizontal axes, and then perhaps give it just 50 pixels in height. All right. So the way I do that is to implement size for item like this, and just return a CG size make. And for the frame, we'll say collection view frame, let's see, dot frame with height of 50. So this 50 value is kind of arbitrary, and we'll talk about it later when we need to fix the height of the entire collection view. So that's what we have right now. And this kind of tells me that our settings cell is working because the background color is blue. Okay, pretty good. How am I doing on time? Let's see. Not bad so far. Okay, now in our settings cell, I want to add this label. Let's see, let me just bring this up. So I have a label and an image view inside of each one of my cells. That means I need to add it inside of this cell here. And I do that programmatically by typing in let name label. Let's see, be of type UI label like this. I'll create a label right here. Let's see if I can type it out correctly. Label, return this label value. And then just execute this block right here. It gives me this label back, setting name label to this label. Okay, and label.text will be setting for now. And what do I do in order to add this name label? Well, I'm going to get rid of this background color and just say add subview, name label. Okay, and so I'm going to call this custom function that we created in our previous video called add constraint with format. And what this does is it just easily allows me to add a constraint using this visual format that Apple gave us. So I'm going to type v0 with these two pipes, and this view variable will be name label like that. So let me just give it the vertical constraints as well. And what this means is it expands from left edge to right edge fully, with the v0 view being this name label, and similarly for the vertical axis or axis. Now I'm going to run this and see what we get inside of our cell. So click on this more button, we get this setting here, and then we get our 3 cells. So that's looking pretty good. And let's see, let's bring it up here, and I'm going to tab. And so now I need this image icon on the left of it, right? So I'm going to create this image view right here. So I'm going to call it image or icon image view. Be of type image view, and I'm going to create this image view here. I'm going to go through this as fast as I can. Let's just return this image view right there. And now what do we do inside here? I'm going to set the image to an image like this. So this is just a dummy image for now, and we need to call this named constructor. And we need to give it this image right here. So what is this image value? Well, I'm going to go ahead and drag in an asset from our finder right here. So I have this asset called settings. It gives me this little gear. The way to drag it in is just simply drag it in like that. We get that gear now, right? So that gear is called settings. I'm going to type in settings here. So I got this image view with the settings inside of it right now, and I'm just going to set content mode equals scale aspect fill, keeps the aspect ratio in terms of the horizontal and vertical axis. And here I want to actually add this icon into my cell view. So I'm going to call add subview icon image view like that. And so I'm going to run this and see what happens. I'm not actually sure if I see the icon image view when I do this, but let's see. Okay, we don't see it, and that's pretty good. That's what I expected, because we haven't added the constraints for this image view. And how do I want to do this? Well, we know that let's see, we know that the icon belongs to the left of it, right? And it has some spacing in between, and then the name label goes to the right. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that inside of this horizontal constraint. So I'm gonna say, let's see, V0, and change this to V1. And to the left of V0 will be 16 pixels, like that, and to the right of it will be 8 pixels. And what is V0? Well, V0 is this icon image view right there, and then V1 will be the name label. And so the way this works is it just adds it onto the view in a horizontal manner. And the last bit we need to change is this. We actually have to establish the height of this icon image view. And we do that very simply by saying V0 of 30, right? This will be icon image view. So one thing I need to fix inside of here is I need to actually give this image view here a width of something. So this something is just 30. And this means that out of these two views, this one is the dynamically sized view. So this takes up the rest of the space between the right edge and all of the stuff here. All right, so I'm gonna run this now and show you what we get. Okay, so clicking on that, we get this menu right here, and then we get this icon here, and then we get the settings that comes all the way to the right, starting from here. All right. So it looks like the left edge is a little too wide, so I'm going to change it to 8 instead of 16. And I want to bring this settings gear down to the middle of the view, the cell view. And I do that very simply by calling add constraint down here. Let me just get some space here. So I can align this view vertically just by saying ns layout constraint. Use this item constructor. And what is this item? Well, it's icon image view. Attribute would be center Y. Related by equals self is the item. This is again center Y. Multiplier is 1 and constant is 0. Okay, I'm gonna run this now. So this basically centers the icon image view to the self's center Y is how you can think of this constraint. So click on that, and now we get something very, very close to what we need to achieve. All right, so let's go on. And so I want to fix one thing here, and I noticed that the spacing here is really, really wide, or is really tall. And the reason for that is collection views have a default spacing of 10 pixels between each cell or each line. And if I type in here minimum line spacing, I get this method. If I return 0, it reduces the gap between each one of the cells to just 0. So I'm gonna click menu, and now the settings are a lot closer. So that's pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and implement the rest of the icons inside of this view here. So the 5 remaining icons are these 5 right here. I'll go into my assets right here, drag all those guys in, and I'll go back to my settings launcher file. All right. And now, how do we want to implement all of these icons and in addition to the icons, the label that belongs to that icon? Well, the easiest way to do this is to create a new class that kind of acts as our model object for each one of these settings. And this class, I'm gonna call it setting, right? Does that make sense? Yeah, that makes sense. So setting is a subclass of NS object. That's what this means here. And we're going to have 2 variables inside of setting. First is a name, and the second is a image name. So pretty straightforward right there. If I just leave it here, it's going to give me this error saying that I need to instantiate these to a certain value. And I'm going to undo that. And what the proper fix for this is to actually create this initializer here, right? And we give it 2 initialize parameters, which will be the exact same name as our property names. And in here, we just simply call, let's see, self.name is the name we pass in. self.image name is the image name that we pass in. And that's how we fix that error. So now that I have this model object here, I can actually construct an array of these cell rows. And I will do that by doing this. So let settings be a setting array. That's what this means here. I can construct this settings array by using this block here, right? And let me just type in one setting right here. So setting is this, right? So if I do this, I don't really get the autocomplete, but if I do this right here, so setting equals setting, let's see, setting right here, I get this autocomplete here. The name will be settings, and the image name will be that gear, which is this settings right here. And in here, I'm going to go ahead and cut this instead of using the variable name, because it'll be easier when I create the rest of these settings. So I'm gonna hit run, and hopefully nothing has changed yet. Okay, running that looks fine. Clicking the more icon, we still get that. And here's what we are going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and use this settings array inside of my collection view. Now inside of number of items in section, I'm going to return settings.count. Gives me that one icon for now. And inside of this cell for item at index path, I want to somehow tell this cell what these image icons and labels need to be. So in other words, I want to type in cell.setting equals this settings. Let's see. I guess to be more obvious, I'm going to say let setting equal settings and take the correct setting from our index path representing that row. And I want to type cell setting equals this setting up here. But I can't do that yet because inside of my settings cell, I don't have this settings variable. So we can actually first downcast this as a setting cell because we know that the dequeued cell will always be the settings cell here. That's how we set up our collection view. Now for our settings cell, I'm going to create this var here called setting and use an optional setting like that. And inside of this, I'm going to call did set. All right, so if I go here now, everything is fine, compiles correctly. And every time I set this setting here, I can just call name label dot text equals setting dot name, right? And if I run this, I think I'm going to get settings inside of that label. So let's run that, hit the menu. So I get settings and the gear icon, and that's what we want. So let's fill out the rest of our array inside of settings launcher. So this array right here is our data source, and I'm going to do this. So setting right there, I'm just going to get the autocomplete out of that little line. And down here, I'm going to hit comma, let's see, space, comma, space, comma, space. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need 6 of these guys. And for this, I am going to just fill out what I have in here. So the second one will be terms and privacy policy like that. And this is a bit tedious. Let's see, I think I called it privacy for the icon. And let's see, this will be send feedback. This is a feedback image. And this is, let's see, help. This is, I think I just called it help. Here is switch account. So I'm just going down the list here. I believe the icon is called switch account. The final row will say cancel. Image name will be cancel, I believe. And there we go. So I'm gonna run the application now. And we're gonna get this nice menu with all of these icons inside. So, okay, there we go. I'm gonna scroll down. So the gear icon still needs to be set inside of settings cell here. And we've only set the name label. So let's go ahead and type in icon image view dot image equals this UI image right here named something. What is this something? Well, usually we can just type in setting dot image name, but because it's an optional, let's do this a little safer, I guess, and type in image name equals setting dot name, I believe. No, this needs to be image name. There we go. I'm gonna cut this, put in there, and in here we can just use image name. So I'm gonna run this now and see what we get. Okay, hit this guy right there, and now we get our icons showing up with the proper name label text. Okay, now what do we want to do? So you notice how it scrolls here. We want to get rid of that. And I believe the name label is a little bit smaller in terms of the font size. Let's go ahead and hit name label, font, UI font, system font of size. I believe it's closer to perhaps 13. So I'm pretty particular with my UI elements, and I like them to look proper in terms of sizing and precision, accuracy, and location. Okay, now we have this all ready. Let's go ahead and fix why this menu kind of scrolls up and down, right? So we want to get it to behave like this, where we can't scroll it, and it comes up to be the perfect size, right? And let's go back to settings launcher to fix this bug. Okay, so the reason why the current menu right here only extends up to here is because when we hit show settings, we have a hard-coded height of 200 right here. That's how tall this is. So let's make it a height that is dynamic in regards to this settings array. And we can do settings.count, which gives me 6, I believe right now. And we need to multiply by the row's height, right? And so the row height is a value of 50 from this function call here. And this 50, I want to make this a little more, I guess, error proof. So I'll call this cell height right here. And I need to create a variable up here called, let's see, let cell height equals 50. That way we're a little bit more safe in terms of the height. So this will be cell height right here. And let's see, what do we get? So pretty good. And I'm gonna go ahead and fix this error here. So basically this is requiring a CG float value. I'm gonna type in CG float, see float like that. And I'm gonna cast this entire value into a float value, right? See, and this needs to be a CG float as well. So let me just go ahead and call this a CG float and run the application now. And I believe that this needs to be our CG float value. So let me just fix that and go there and run the application now. And we get our proper height. So click there. And now we get the entire collection view inside of our menu, and we can no longer scroll it, right? That's pretty close to what we want to achieve. Now, what else do I want to go over here? Now, the easy fix for this row highlighting is to implement something that is called an override on highlight, okay? So very similar to this menu up here that we built out in the previous video. It has a highlighted state, which does that. And so I'm gonna go here. I want to implement the same fix for this menu system. So when I click here, I want to get the background to appear dark gray and the icon and settings to be white, right? So how do we do that? The easiest way is to go into setting a cell right here, and we can actually override a property on setting cell. So if I do override like this, var highlighted, type in this bool here and say did set, right? And if I print out this highlighted value down here, every time I click onto the cell, this variable actually gets toggled to true and false. In other words, when I click this, the print console will say true, false. So I click on true and let go, false, true, false, true, false, right? That's how this override works for cell. And so based on this highlighted value, I can actually set the background color to be, let's see, if it's highlighted, we'll say UI color of dark gray. Otherwise, we will just tell it to be completely white. And running that will give me this effect where if I click on that, it gives me this gray value right here. So that's pretty cool, right? So I need to fix the text to be white when I highlight it. And that will be name label text color equals, if it's highlighted, I'll change it to white. Otherwise, it'll be, let's just use complete black right there. And this fixes the highlight color of the name label. And I'll show you that by clicking here. So that gives me the white text whenever I highlight one of these cells. And the final bit is actually change the tint color of this image view by saying icon image view dot tint color equals something. So if it's highlighted, we set it to white. So when we highlight it, it appears to be white. Otherwise, the color should be perhaps dark gray. Something like that, I believe, will work. And running the application now, you're going to find that it doesn't work exactly the way you want it to. So the tint color is not changing at all. And that's because whenever we set up this setting here, this image that we set has to actually use image with rendering mode of always template. And whenever we set an image like this, we can actually change the tint color based on whatever color we want. In other words, we get that, and then you see how when we click it, it becomes white and dark gray, white, dark gray, right? So let's go ahead and modify this right here to just say icon image view tint color equals UI color dark gray color, and this will default the very first color of the image view to this dark gray. So click, get the dark gray, click on that, and that's what we get. So click on this. All right, not so bad. Okay, that about wraps it up for today's video. In the next lesson, I'm gonna go over how to complete this menu by showing you how to respond to each one of the clicks inside of your collection view. So let's go ahead and show you exactly what I mean. And I'm gonna go into the simulator here, bump up the simulator size. And when I click on this menu here, so I've decided to change the application to make it a little more interesting. And I'm gonna click on the settings here, right? It actually pushes an entire view controller. It has this little white title along with this back button here. Let me just show you that one more time. So click cancel, let's see, maybe not cancel, terms and policy, dismisses, and then it pushes an entire view controller onto the navigation controller stack is what we call it. That's all very interesting stuff. Hope you guys stay tuned for that video. And yeah, that's about it. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed the content so far, and hit that subscribe button. Goes a long way in making me continue on this video journey. All right, that's all I wanted to show you guys today. Make sure to follow me on Twitter if you want to send me a message, give me a holler, and keep on coding. You'll get better every day. Thanks. Bye.